distinguished leaders and pioneers in tourism present in this room, and honorable all the panel speakers, I am assigned to speak on the theme of Himalayan Travel Mart, Nepal, the gateway to Himalayas. We heard in the morning sessions brilliant presentations what the adventure tourist expects and how the industry delivers from Mr. Daniel. Similarly, we heard from David Lean what is the extremes of feeling experienced in adventure tourism while the tourists are engaged from hard, hopeless to the future hope. Similarly, we heard Julie in the morning how we can recharge the life once it is low through the means of adventure tourism. So we are all here very aware what we mean by adventure tourism. So in this context, I would like to say some of our perspective, what we are looking for adventure tourism, which is changing very fast in the global tourism market. And we'd like to position the Himalayan tourism in that context. We know very well that Nepal's desire is just the culmination of past in the Himalayas, all the learnings and experience we had to redefine the future adventure tourism, positioning Nepal's Himalayan tourism, along with the Himalayan countries together. It's in fact our desire, capitalizing our efforts, looking for the future as our intent to consolidate, expand and establish the significant and unique experience of Himalayan tourism as adventure segment in the global tourism market. And we know very well these close connections and very intensive co-relationship of Himalaya and adventure, because Himalayas has remained a center of attraction for the adventure lovers since time immemorial. We know very well what adventure means, what motivation are basically broadly two motivations. One is knowledge seekers and one is experience achievers. And these two are the basic foundations of adventure motivation in the tourism market. Under certain time frame, we can say that Nepal do have certain experience collected in the ancient past. Himalaya remained a sanctuary for spiritual knowledge with history and stories of saints and sages. Then moving forward in recent past, we saw its value, Himalayan value for exploration, research and findings, knowing the unknowns. And recently and today and in the future past, we can see very well how the Himalayas can motivate, getting to be feel freshness of nature and inspire as we heard in the morning. Similarly, how to encounter the challenges to feel rewarded once you complete it, and satisfaction of getting something achieved. That's a great part of everybody's life. So this is the orientations and linkage of Himalayas with the adventure activities. And similarly, we can say how these experiences lead towards the business industry of adventure tourism in the future. As all of us present here are completely aware what is the essence of adventure tourism. And it is something one of the fastest growing segments in the global market, and high value customers are coming up at the most potential segment of the market. And there is great linkage from the domestic, destination and national perspective with its contribution to the local economies. And similarly, from the environmental perspective, adventure tourism is considered as oriented towards sustainable practices. It's for sure. And in the meantime, how we do explain the theme which I have given to have its rationals and some logics and reasons behind it for the Himalayan Travel Mart, Nepal as a gateway to Himalayas. In this backdrop, Nepal's wish and train towards adventure tourism, I would like to refer some of the elements to set reasons behind this theme. We know that Nepal, geographically, physically located at the central part of the Himalayan range. If we see in the west, India, Pakistan, further in Afghanistan, the range extends, and in the east, we can see India, Bhutan, and further to Myanmar. And if you see to the north, the Tibetan parts of the China, it all along with the Himalayan ranges. So in this backdrop, we can see that how the Nepal is getting popular in the Himalayan tourism during the last 5 decades. The highest concentration of the higher peaks, which we listen the experiences from the encounters, that how it can be positioned for the future, number one. And in the meantime, during the last 5 decades, there have been 3 major events I would like to draw your attention that has established Nepal as synonym to the Himalayas. Number one, the first ascent of 8,000-meter peaks in the world, the conquest or success of Mount Annapurna in 1950, got tremendous publicity in the tourism generating market, followed by the success of Mount Everest in 1953, and the whole decade of 50s remained a golden decade, particularly for the climbers, with all the completion in successful climbing of 8,000 meters. We used to call Annapurna to Dhaulagiri. That is the golden decade and golden era for the climbing community in the world. So these events has helped us to establish Nepal as a central stage in the Himalayan tourism products. And we know by geographically how it is located, so it's very simple. And Himalayan tourism, in the Nepalese context, we can say how it is developed, it is coming since last 5 decades. The decade of 50s witnessed the climbing of high mountains in the country. It was followed by the little bit softer one, reaching to the foothills of the Himalayas, which has got popularity as trekking. And in the meantime, during the 70s, we witnessed the culturally motivated tours and packages, which is based on the Himalayan heritage. And following up in the decade of 80s, the adventure activities in tourism started to be add-ons like rafting under the snow-fed rivers coming from Himalayas. And in the 90s, the special interest tours with nature and culture-based activities, and further following on the popularity of specific interests like bungee jumping, paragliding, free fall, canyoning, and recently the biking on the foothills in the mountain topography, and custom-tailored tours like long-distance trekking at Great Himalayan Trails are some of the add-ons. It certainly continued with new dynamism in future and greatly established economic significance to the livelihood of the Himalayan community with experience in Nepal is going to be the multifaceted tourism positioning in the coming decades for the adventure tourism. On this background, I would like to draw and refer some of the elements while positioning Himalayas as a special tourism product in the adventure market. The understanding is very essential, and working for intricate balance of environment, protection, and community development who are along with the Himalayan range, and the industry growth globally, sharing the values and essence of all these elements with international community is a great challenge for us. In spite of its remaining sensitivity in the region, whether it may be environmental challenge of sensitivity of fragileness, or it may be the source of fresh water who are dependent almost more than billions of people in the continent. And in the meantime, people living around the Himalayas who are nurturing distinct values of their life and specific futures in terms of cultural identity. And the stewards they have taken over to maintain, manage, conserve, and preserve this sensitive environment is very important. The factor which draws our attention while we move for the future market of adventure tourism and positioning Himalayan tourism. And sharing all these assets as a common Himalayan heritage with the global community poses multidimensional challenges, certainly. And in the meantime, to move ahead, we have to be practical enough to accommodate the differences among the countries present in the Himalayan region, whether it might be because of the sensitivity of the borderlines where the Himalayan range runs, or in the meantime, the framework of the sustainability, impact of the climate change, and the aspirations and expectations of the communities living around for the development perspective. So issues of development and maintaining the natural serenity of the Himalayan environment is one of the challenges we have to put in the position. Similarly, issues of national security because of the borderline of all these, whether you talk about India versus Pakistan, or Pakistan versus China, or China versus India, or Nepal versus Bhutan, and Bhutan versus India, all these borderlines are one of the sensitive things we have to take into consideration while designing the tour products coming up with the Himalayan activities of tourism. Similarly, issues of safety, the backup. We may say that adventure is there. Adventure means taking up the risk. But risk is to be fully backed up by the safety measures from the infrastructural perspective, from the human resource skill which Nepal has been successful to develop within the last 5 decades. And the issues are coming up in the market. To what extent we are supposed to commercialize all these products and packages based on Himalayan environment for the vis-a-vis with the alpinism. So alpinism versus commercialization has become one of the issues, particularly focusing on the mountaineers. They want to see the mountains and environment aloof and different from the commercialization. So some of these are the issues I would like to refer to be considered while positioning the Himalayan tourism in the context of global adventure tourism. So in spite of all this sensitivity and differences remaining, Nepal has experienced its confidence that it can be managed, the delicate balance of economic, social, and environmental issues with controlled mechanism and intervention, with regulated procedures, and more liberal, allowing the community and industry to be engaged in the future. So the conceptual fundamentals we have considered in positioning Himalayas in the adventure tourism market in the days to come. We can say that Himalayas can be exposed about the unified motivation of travel in the industry. And in the meantime, we are supposed to redefine the Himalayan adventure, not limiting its activities and tour packages within the border of a nation. Widening the spectrum of tourism activity in the Himalayan region can be considered, and in the meantime, bringing Himalayan countries together, whether they may not be only considered from the tourism perspective, there may be other dimensions like political, cultural, social, and international relations. We can work together for the purpose of tourism, collaborating for the target of prosperity of the people living around the Himalayan region, and integrating all these Himalayan identity, designing for the future diverse tour products as innovations in tourism industry. And we also like to strengthen the capability to manage the harshness brought by natural disasters. We talked about the earthquake and avalanches and so many risks involved in the adventure activities. Though we do have the experience in the past and we have been able to develop certain capability, and we want to strengthen the capability along the countries of the Himalayan region for the future perspective of adventure tourism. And lastly, how we are going to institutionalize. So the concept of theme is, in fact, we are in the right time with this mark to institutionalize our learnings and experience of the past for the Himalayan tourism to be developed as a significant component of adventure tourism in the global market. And some of the references I would like to mention in our experience to back up, and that 1/3 of arrivals in the neighboring country, Bhutan, they move from Nepal's side. So they are connected, Nepal and Bhutan, for the Himalayan tourism in some way. And almost 20% of the annual arrivals in Nepal are under Nepal-India combined tours. There is certain connectiveness of Nepal-India tourism together. And over 15% of arrivals in Nepal are under combined tours of Nepal and Tibet. So we had already experienced these tour packages beyond the borders of single country. So we need to know how we do repackage, reposition the coming days of Himalayan tourism in the perspective of all these challenges. And Sikkim, a separate state of India, we can find these days looking how it can combine its tours with Nepal to position its tourism development as Himalayan tourism. So with these backgrounds, I will take 5 more minutes. So rationale, some regions of rationale behind this theme is complementing the vertical topography which we listened yesterday in the media, the bloggers media conference yesterday. So Nepal's geography is vertical because of the topography. Now we want to expand it horizontally, combining with other countries ranging from Pakistan, India, China, Bhutan, and why not Nepal. This is one concept. And similarly, capitalizing the existing cordial and age-old relationship of Nepal with other Himalayan countries, we do have it more advantage. Similarly, extend the values of Himalayan image which Nepal has garnered in the past 5 decades as synonym to other Himalayan countries. And so we want to leverage the human resource skill, which is popularly known in the market as Sherpa, which has been symbolic as a very, very highly skilled adventure guide. So why not to leverage all these resource and capability in the specialized service operator available in the country in the Himalayan tourism. And similarly, extending whatever connectivity and infrastructure we have been able to develop to connect with all these countries and gearing up the quality of tourism services, complementing each other in the days to come to strengthen the adventure portions, adventure market through the Himalayan tourism. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, the institutions like multi-country Himalayan tours. Though it looks very challenging, but we can see tourism is the most easiest way, most easiest sector of diplomacy compared to other diplomacy. So we can move through the tourism, bringing all these Himalayan countries together. So lastly, what we're supposed to do then after this march? So I see Nepal as a gateway to Himalaya is in fact a complement the existing brand of natural Nepal. We're exposing so much of natural elements in the adventure components in the global market. And it's just the more specific and more clarity. And secondly, policy coordination among the countries. Policy coordination among the countries of the Himalayan region, bilateral as well as regional, is very important to bring the agenda of tourism, to discuss the agenda of tourism at the international relations forum. Similarly, recognize the commonality of Himalayan heritage for the high-value industry products among the industry levels, how we can package, how we can focus, how we can generate for the prosperity of community and prosperity of industry growth, and building the trust both at national levels of the Himalayan countries and industry level brings certainly some output and visible results. And sharing the experience in environmental management of Himalayan region, tourism products, innovations, community development for their prosperity, to establish common ownership of Himalayan heritage for the tourism purpose is very important. And lastly, I'm very, very hopeful in the days to come, this Himalayan March with the participation and interest and endeavor expressed in this conference by so much of friends living in different parts of the world is a step forward in moving towards the strengthening and developing Himalayan tourism, the specific components as special segments redefining global adventure tourism in the future. Thank you very much.